Hey y'all, it's me, AM. We're here live with you for the End User Computing Innovation Day. I want to remind you, I got chat open. If you got questions, put them in. I'll get these answered. This next segment, we're going to kind of put some perspective onto all of the end user computing services here at AWS. We're going to talk through some of the use cases, I believe. I know that I submitted a use case that we should talk about that got rejected. I wanted a virtual desktop that all the files just automatically were replaced with cat pictures just all the time. And y'all said, that sounds like a great idea, AM, but probably not for this segment. So I still had to get it in, though. All right, please, Hassan, Andrew, let's start with you, Hassan. Introduce yourself to the stream.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, AM. My name is Hassan. I am a head of product here at AWS End User Computing. Primarily, I focus on Amazon Workspaces as well as AppStream.
And Andrew.
Thanks, AM. Andrew Defoe, Principal Product Manager with AWS, focusing on end-user computing, especially workspaces and AppStream 2.0.
All right, and for the next 25 minutes, you two are trapped on stage with me, and we're going to be having a nice conversation about how to consider when I need to select the right compute, right, when it comes to my end-user computing needs. So I think, first off, let's just put it into perspective for people that are maybe unfamiliar with end-user computing. What types of things are people doing with end-user computing? What types of challenges are they solving? What types of workloads are they thinking about?
Yeah, that's, first of all, I'm happy to be trapped here with you for the next 20 minutes or even more.
You have to say it.
I think that here at end-user computing, our biggest focus is on serving companies and enterprises with solutions for their digital workplace. Specifically, we focus on making the workforce more agile, giving them what they need to get their daily job done, and make it very easy for them to get their job done, right? That's a big thing that we focus on. So let me talk a little bit about what our services do, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about the workloads that we share with our customers, how do we enable them, and how do we kind of enable them to make their workforce more agile. So to start off, the end-user computing is a collection of services. It's a full family of services. We have anywhere from virtual desktops to application streaming to infrastructure services, and we are expanding. We are in the business of, hey, how do we really give customers an end-to-end solution? So when we say end-to-end solution, it's really thinking about, like, you hire an employee, you're the CEO of a company, you hire an employee. How do we get that employee enabled to get their work started really, really fast? So
thank you for recognizing the CEO energy that I give off, Hassan, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that's what I project out.
You have bright future, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you think about, let's take an example of a developer, right? Or let's take an example of any contract or any contractor you have. You might be a pharmaceutical company, or you might be a financial services company with a bunch of financial analysts. When customers come to us, there's a common theme of a problem, which is that, hey, I have hired this person. I want to give them all the IT equipment, all of the stuff they need to do to get started with by being productive, by getting their job done, right? On paper, sounds very easy.
Yeah, 6 months later, and you're doing your job, right?
Exactly, exactly.
That's usually how onboarding goes.
Sounds very easy, but it's not that easy, apparently. So that's a common theme, right? Like, how do I get my users to get started fast, right? So what we do here in end-user computing is really focus on that agility of the workforce. Like, you join, you get started fast. Ultimately, it's not an employee's responsibility to figure out what IT system I need to use, what laptop I need to use, and all of that stuff, right? It is the job of the employee is like, hey, I want to start writing code. Just give me a place where I can start writing code. So
it's like you read my diary. I was writing this last night. Yeah, in my diary.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you were drinking while doing that. But if we look at that, there's that agility angle. Now, let me actually take a step back from this point, which is that you're a company, a big organization, have many different diverse type of users. There might be developers, there might be office workers, there might be financial analysts, and so on. Now, when an IT at this company thinks about their users, they're not thinking about like, oh, I need this specific solution for this set of users. They're thinking about their entire workforce, right? And similarly, this entire workforce, with all the changing environments, we had previously, people went remote. Now it's hybrid, and the people are in person, and they're still traveling. Yeah. So mobility is a thing, right? So if you think about, again, put your CEO hat, you are working for the...
I never take it off.
You're working for the entirety of your workforce, right? That's what your main focus is. So what if we work backwards from there, and when customers come to us like, hey, I want to enable my workforce, what they really want from us is that, hey, give me solutions that are end-to-end. So going back to my previous point, end-to-end. And that's really the crux of what we do here at End User Computing. We solve these problems. We make users agile. We give these organizations choice of different operating systems, different hardwares, different applications that they can run. We've talked about M365. We're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
So it's really to give all of that choice and give them all that flexibility. The second thing I will say, and then I'll pass the baton back to you, is that a lot of these companies have existing IT systems that they want to integrate with.
Right.
Very important, right?
They've invested a lot of money into that. Yeah. It's hard to move on or move up, right?
Exactly. And that's where we work very closely with our partners. We're talking about VMware, Canonical, et cetera, to make sure that whatever we are building are well integrated with these companies and their environment. So just to kind of wrap this whole thing around, these are the workloads that we focus on to make it agile and easier for the companies to use.
I think that considers, there's two kind of main audiences when thinking about, at least that I've observed, when thinking about end user computing, right? There's the audience of the end users, the people who are actually going to consume these things, and then there's the audience of the IT professionals that are supporting them, right? And so we've talked a lot about the end users. Andrew, I know we're going to talk to you about like where the AWS services, fit into the landscape of end user computing. I think that's maybe a good transition over to talk about that, because the IT professionals, right? They're going to be the ones supporting this stuff. They're going to be the ones that have to take a look at all of this and go, well, what do I pick, right? Like, I've got this problem. What solves my problem? The end users, like you were saying, Hassan, they just want their, Excel to work, right? Like they don't care so much how it gets delivered to them, but the IT pros do, right? They're the ones who have to think about that. So from your perspective, Andrew, what do you think about when people ask you the question, where do each of these services fit in? What do you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of how you think about it, and you mentioned kind of the multiple personas that we think about and our customers think about around end user computing. The person making the decision on the right solution to use is often concerned about how to optimize, especially from day one, and especially with the degree of agility and rapid deployment that really customers have to think about to face the needs of a very changing environment in their business today. So, end user computing, it's about the end user. It's about understanding the use cases and the key capabilities. That's how customers can optimize using the flexibility and choice that we provide at AWS with end user computing. Really think about how to identify what users need and how to think about those key capabilities. And we can talk a lot about key capabilities, just a few examples of those, and they really help customers identify, once you know those capabilities, what are the right solutions to address those capabilities so end users are very productive. desktop operating system is an obvious one, right? Windows, Ubuntu, Linux, making sure that users are productive with the operating systems they know and are productive in for their business applications and for the tasks they have to perform. End user device is also key. What are users actually connecting from to these desktop solutions and application solutions? How is that part of the mix? What kind of performance do they need? Do they need accelerated graphics, high performance computing, storage? Those are all factors that are around key capabilities. Beyond that, real-time communications, as we heard about in the previous session, how do end users communicate in real time and utilize unified communications? And then as well, we also talk about things, key capabilities like how personal and how personalized does the solution need to be? There are some end users, especially developers, that need a high degree of personalization in their desktop environment. Has to be fine-tuned for their needs so they can be productive.
We have a lot of needs. We're a unique group of people.
And we're here to help.
That's
we're here
right.
to help. And so it's important to have a solution that can be highly personalized. It's also important, going back to an admin perspective, personalization, there's a premium cost to that. And so you want to use it when it's the right solution. But when you need more flexibility in terms of rapid deployment, when you need more flexibility in terms of providing more curated experiences in terms of applications, services that are more or less the same every time you plug in, you're always getting the same experience, we can provide solutions like that as well. And so there's a balance of personalization and persistence that we think about. And then certainly the idea of who's managing it? Who's responsible? That admin has to be responsible for some aspect of it, but to what degree is really important. And it's really about customers taking an inventory of their own expertise, what they're comfortable with. And there are opportunities, especially with AWS end user computing, for AWS and our partners as well to play a big role in how you manage the overall end user computing environment.
Right.
We talk about fully managed. And so what I'll do now is kind of get into some of the different services and just highlight some of the key points around those key capabilities and what it means for each of the use cases.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah.
Just to add to that, I think that our mantra in end user computing here is that we want to meet customers where they are.
Yeah.
And that's really what Andrew was describing, that hey, some customers want very intricate customizations and management layers.
Right.
Some customers are like, don't bother me, just take care of my workload.
Yeah, I mean, something that's dawning on me as I listen to you both, like I've never been on the IT side. I've been more on the dev side most of my career, but I've worked alongside a lot of IT pros. And a lot of times it's hard to get into that personalization space because, like you said earlier, Hassan, you're more concerned about like the hardware side and buying from a vendor, and there's limitations on the types of machines you can get. Do y'all see, as you work with these companies as they transition to more of these cloud-based, fully managed solutions, that they're able to more invest into that personalization space of, well, now actually I can actually more consider the end user and less consider like the hardware choices that I'm limited by physically, right? Now that I have these kind of services available to me.
Right, and essentially the benefit of moving from on-prem to cloud is something like you were describing, like purchasing a hardware. Instead of spending procurement cycles, funding cycles, and all of that, customers really have to click one button.
Right.
Right. So that's really the essence of what we provide. We want to give customers buttons, easy buttons.
Opens a lot more time, right?
Yeah.
To focus on more impactful things to the business.
And we're focusing on like experience level for the end users, right? It's not about giving them a laptop. It's about what is their experience on a day-to-day basis from the IT.
Now, Andrew, we're going to kick off with workspaces, it looks like.
Yeah, and so workspaces, when we talk about the degree of personalization, workspaces is your cloud PC. It is the highest degree of personalization and persistence available. You provision a workspace for an individual user. You have the opportunity, of course, security comes into play. There's policies and controls that admins can provide to their end users, but the service provides the full capabilities. And so if you're talking about the experience where I can log into my workspace, I use it every day as my primary desktop. There are other use cases where it may be utilized just to access a secure environment or to send code through a pipeline or access my IDE in a secure way. The workspace is a very versatile solution, but it is really built around high degree of personalization and persistence to the point where you can customize that on a per user basis and then modify that as users' needs change. And so Workspaces is really about your PC in the cloud experience. As we think about Workspaces Core is focusing on the infrastructure and the ability to manage desktops at scale, but it's providing a common look and feel, leveraging our core partners. And those core partners include VMware, WorkSpot, LeoStream, and as announced today, Citrix.
Yeah,
and so
exciting news.
we're very excited about that. And really the cool thing about Workspaces Core is that you get all the benefits of fully managed desktop infrastructure in AWS, but you have a common look and feel for your administrator so they understand the tool sets and the processes and the fine tuning that they've already, in a lot of cases, invested in.
Right.
And they can do that across hybrid environments. So they can do it in AWS, they can do it on premises, and so they have the ability to provide a common look and feel and management to desktops everywhere. And that also means productivity for the end user. If they're running today and utilizing any of these tools, their desktops can move to AWS seamlessly at scale. And so as an end user, I'm not impacted, but now my desktop is running in AWS. And so it's a great solution both for admins and end users alike, just in terms of the consistency of the experience, which matters a lot.
I mean, both on the IT and the dev side, we are constantly inundated with new things to learn, right? Like it's hard to pick what to learn next. So the fact that, you know, I've invested a lot of time getting my staff, my IT admins trained up on a specific one of these, you know, partners that we've got here, and they just can continue using it, but also utilize AWS Workspaces Core to facilitate that running in AWS. That's great, right? No retraining needed, no, you know, no kind of wasted cycles on learning something just to manage infrastructure.
It goes back to, you know, what Hassan was saying about, you know, we want to be where customers are to help them in their journey, right? And so it's about addressing the solutions and leveraging the technologies that are leading in our space and you know, able to take advantage of the back end infrastructure that we've worked so hard to provide to our customers.
I love it.
Moving on, just to kind of cover AppStream as a different solution, and so, you know, really the key points about AppStream is rapid and elastic deployment of desktops and applications. And so its strengths really are about speed and flexibility. And so with AppStream, what you're typically providing is a little bit of a lesser degree of personalization. What you normally see with AppStream are use cases and capabilities that revolve around a curated desktop experience or a curated application catalog where users can get in, access the files that they need, access the applications that they need, and have a consistent experience over time. But AppStream's real, you know, kind of superpower is its flexibility around management, especially with our elastic capabilities. Admins love AppStream because they don't have to think about the underlying infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's essentially serverless desktop and application computing, which is super exciting.
I was going to ask, this kind of seems like, from the DevOpsy side, like the Fargate of VDI in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that overall, as I was talking about choice and flexibility, right? The first thing customers ask us, like, okay, I want to move to the cloud. What do I need to do? Where do I start? Right? That's a big question.
Right.
Where do I start? So how we have thought about it is that Workspaces Core is the least effort move to the cloud. You continue using your existing services, move to the core. You're already in cloud, right?
Yes.
And then we look at Workspaces Cloud Desktops itself. There's a little bit more effort to it, but then it becomes less effort longer term to manage those instances.
Right.
And
Makes sense.
similarly, AppStream is akin to Workspaces, but focuses on the speed.
Okay, great.
And then, you know, just to kind of wrap things up around the family of services, Workspaces Web is an enterprise, fully managed virtual browser. And so what's exciting about that, going back to, again, the conversation about optimization and the conversation about what do users actually need, you know, it's not lost on anyone that, you know, customers are taking more advantage of software as a service for their business applications every day. They're hosting those applications in a lot of cases on AWS. And so as those applications become a bigger part of an end user's day-to-day in terms of their productivity and getting their work done, as well as those line of business applications, web applications that may be hosted on premises or, you know, accessed privately from a virtual private cloud in AWS, Workspaces Web is tailor-made to answer that question, do my users actually even need a desktop to be able able to get their work done. Is a browser really all I need to get my work done? And so Workspaces Web is a fully managed way of addressing that specific use case in a very simple, low-cost way that really solves that problem and gets customers and end users out of the kind of the VPN world and into a very simple cloud, fully managed experience in the browser. And so it's really our answer to say, how do you optimize around end user computing in situations where, yes, I need desktops, yes, I need applications. What if I just need web applications? Workspaces Web solves that problem.
Yeah, for me, I think an equivalent in my own life is I built a PC recently to game on primarily, and I just mostly use it for email. I never get the opportunity, and I look at it, and it's so vastly overpowered for just a browser, and I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah, very expensive way to run email.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And so, I mean, that's the reality for a lot of people, right? Like, they don't need intensive, resource-heavy compute environments, right? They just need
I think
a browser.
Your example is so spot on, right? Like, the one of the biggest benefit of moving to the cloud, especially with end user workloads, is you might have employees joining, some leaving. So there's that constant dynamics of the workforce that are happening, right? And because we have pay-as-you-go pricing, so if you, instead of building your gaming PC, just used one of the Workspaces GPU desktop.
Tell me this now, Hassan. Thanks.
And if you are just using it for email, you can just go and kill that server, and you're done. So the charging stops.
Right. Yeah. So we got about 2 minutes left. There's one question from chat that I wanted to save for the end, but you know, I want to make sure we cover everything that y'all were looking to cover. So let me just put it this way: is there anything that you want to get out to the audience in the minute and a half we've got left? And then I'd love to ask this question from chat if we've got 30 seconds or so.
I think that a couple of things I would add is, as you were describing, we have a lot of focus on enabling or making admin's life easier, and at the same time giving a very good experience to the end users. We recently announced ability to run M365 applications on Workspaces, so we are very excited about that. We have tons and tons of new features and announcements coming between now and reInvent. So would love for the audience here to stay tuned for some more cool things that we are launching.
Yeah, we're going to get in depth on a lot of these services too. So I really appreciate the overview, Andrew. One thing I wanted to highlight from what you were talking through too was the fully managed aspect too. I don't know if 30 seconds on the fully managed aspect.
I think I can cover that in 30 seconds. Okay. And so, you know, we talk a lot about fully managed with AWS end user computing. It's really about who's responsible. Customers increasingly are gravitating to the idea that, hey, if AWS can take on more of that load and that undifferentiated heavy lifting, I'm all for it. And so AWS is here to help with our core service for Workspaces, AppStream Workspaces Web. Quickly kind of look at some of the different things you have to do in any virtual desktop environment. We are taking more responsibility, as well as our partners with Workspaces Core, to shoulder that load. And so what that means is more efficiency, more opportunities to optimize from day one, less burden on the administrator, and keeping our end users productive is what it's all about.
That's great. Thank you so much, Andrew and Hassan, both, for joining us here on this segment, which we will be right back with more on End User Computing Innovation Day. Stay tuned.